Imagine you just think that you're your sun sign. Imagine that. The sun stays in a sign, in a zodiac sign for 30 days. And you just think you are your sun sign when you are the entire universe in motion. Imagine that. You're not your sun sign. Grow. You're your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mars, your every part of your chart. So as I'm recording this, it's Scorpio season. I decided to do a couple of Scorpio related videos for this season. And I did one video on the dark side of the Scorpio sign, the Scorpio consciousness, the Scorpio energy. And did I get some people wild up and triggered? I mentioned in the video how as a Scorpio moon, I consider the Scorpio energy, the Scorpio consciousness, part of my zodiac sign. And I had so many people like get so angry, and obviously there were Scorpio suns being like, everyone's a Scorpio wannabe, everybody wants to be us, da da da. Like, this was just so high school, so elementary, and I'm here to set the record straight. The Scorpio Sun versus a Scorpio Moon versus a Scorpio Rising. Who is the real Scorpio out of the three? And the fact that I even have to do this episode is like so laughable, because this topic is so childish. Like, if you're asking yourself who is the real Scorpio, if you're in like a battle with, oh, I'm more Scorpio than you did it, like, you're a child. You are operating from a child. I mean, I think even some children are more mature than that. Like, that video was about the dark side of the Scorpio. It's just such a reflection. When people are leaving me like really negative comments, it's a reflection of the dark side of the Scorpio. Like, how ironic. You're just taking the bait. You're taking the bait. And I deleted a lot of those comments because I'm not gonna have low frequency, low vibrational energy under any video that I am sharing. Absolutely not. So with that being said, let's get on this episode. Who is a real Scorpio out of the Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Moon, and Scorpio Rising? Let me first say that here on Riastrology, I don't do sun sign astrology. I don't focus on the sun. I predominantly focus on the moon for sure, because as humans, we are emotional beings, and the moon predominantly, not entirely, rules over our human emotions. But then also, as humans, we're not just emotional beings, we are also egoical beings. Our ego is so loud and huge and dominant, and not everyone's ego is healthy. Not everyone's ego is operating from its highest expression. And the thing about the Scorpio energy, which I mentioned in that video, is that it is so dominant. Wherever it is in your chart, even if it's your Venus or your Mars, it is gonna dominate and gonna be a huge part of your identity, a huge part that you identify with. I didn't say it's my sun sign, I said I consider it part of my zodiac sign. And when I say my zodiac sign, I don't mean my sun, I mean my entire chart. I don't consider myself one energy. I'm a multifaceted being. I'm not just my sun, I'm not just my moon, I'm just not my rising, I am every part of my chart. I consider my rising my zodiac sign, I consider my Venus my zodiac sign, I consider my Mars, every part of my chart is me. I'm all 12 signs, and sometimes the girl likes to get a little mystical, and I say I'm all 13, okay? The 13th key, the 13th zodiac sign, it's not fully integrated in our consciousness, in our construct as of right now. It will in the future, but we're not just one sign. And if you're holding on to your sun sign, if you just think you're your sun sign, you are working with sun sign astrology, you are working with kindergarten astrology, you're working with the astrology the kids in the playground are talking about. You're not sitting in the grown folks table, okay? So let me just clear that up. And this discussion requires spiritual maturity. And I don't believe everyone has spiritual maturity. Just because some people think they have found astrology and they know their big three and they know their chart and they know about the universe and the chakras, they think they are spiritually mature, but that's not the case. There is spiritual immaturity, there's spiritual insecurity, and there's also spiritual narcissism that exists, okay? And you gotta be an extremely conscious, aligned being to operate from spiritual maturity, where you can see the light and you can see the dark, where you can see the shadows in yourself. Especially, you cannot point out shadows and darkness in others when you have not addressed your own. And I work with esoteric astrology, and you are every fiber of your chart. Of course, you will strongly identify with your sun because it's your identity, it's your ego, it's what you're so loud and proud about, it's what dominates you. But in the core, hiding beneath the surface, is the moon, is the soul. Then there's the rising. The rising is the incarnation point, which also rules over the ego because it rules over the head area. It's when a woman gives birth, the head comes out first, and it's the ego, the crown. So a Scorpio Sun, a Scorpio Moon, a Scorpio Rising, that Scorpio energy is going to dominate regardless where it's sitting in your chart. Even for those that have Venus in Scorpio, like I see so many women and men who have Venus in Scorpio, and they have so many strong Scorpio traits in their personality, you could confuse them as someone who has either their sun or their moon in Scorpio, because that energy dominates wherever it is. When you have a planet in Scorpio, it will dominate. I'm not talking about a generational planet, I'm talking about a personal planet. Or you can have a generational planet that is conjunct or making an aspect to a personal planet. That energy is going to dominate and ripple, and you will feel it to your core no matter where it's sitting in your chart. That is a Scorpio energy. It is a fixed water sign ruled by Pluto and Mars. It is dominant. So those that have planets or energies in their chart, they will feel that to their core. And there's no real Scorpio, there ain't no false Scorpio. I mean, what is that? Kindergarten behavior, kindergarten conversation, discussion, like, that is crazy to me. That is bizarre. It's a little cuckoo. That's immaturity, okay? Everyone is gonna be identifying with the planets in their chart and the aspects as well, okay? And the houses that those planets sit in. Those areas are gonna be very loud and dominant. If you are someone with a sun in Scorpio, you are going to be extremely proud of your Scorpio traits, your Scorpio identity. You're going to take so much pride in it. It's going to dominate your life. It's something you love about yourself. It's what you love to share with others. It's what you're very overprotective of. And sun is connected to your ego. So you're going to get offended when somebody else says that they relate with their Scorpio traits more than a sun. You're gonna get offended. So when someone is kind of threatening your Scorpio energy, or you're feeling offended, you're gonna get into your ego about it. It's as simple as that, because you're so prideful of that energy. You're so prideful of that part of you. For example, me, and a lot of people ask me, what's your sun sign? You're not a Scorpio. No, I'm not a Scorpio sun, but I am a Scorpio moon. So my emotions, the core of me, the soul aspect of me is ruled by Scorpio, by Pluto, by Mars, okay? My sun sign is in Aquarius. So I'm very proud of the Aquarian energy and traits when it comes to innovation, when it comes to freedom, when it comes to individuality. That's what I take pride. Those are qualities that I probably brag about. And if there was someone who was an Aquarius moon and they said to me that they identify more with their Aquarius traits and they consider themselves more Aquarian than their sun sign, I would totally get it, because I understand that the human vessel, this human body, it is water. Okay, it is water, and the moon is water. So when you're, regardless of what sign it's in, but the moon, it is the element of water. So when you are an emotional water being, you're gonna feel your moon sign more strongly, because you're an emotional being, just the way you're an egoical being. Anything that rules your ego, your emotions in your chart, you will feel those energies the most. But of course, the Scorpio energy dominates. It dominates. You know, wherever it's in your chart, you will feel it the most. You will strongly identify with it the most. The sun and the moon go hand in hand. They are the yin and the yang. They're going to be the two most strongest energies in your chart that dominate you, the masculine and the feminine energies of you. Like I was saying, as an Aquarius sun, if an Aquarius moon said to me, oh, I feel more like my Aquarius energy, I feel more of an Aquarian than, let's say, my sun sign, I would totally get it. Like, that makes sense to me. You're an emotional being. Your emotions, most darkest hidden aspects of you are ruled by Aquarius. The most sensitive aspects of you, the aspects of you that you feel the most, I get it. Like, it's not something I'd feel triggered or offended by. Like, anyone who'd get offended over something so silly like that, like, that's immaturity. Immaturity. Just because you know astrology, just because you know about the chakras, that doesn't mean you're a spiritual ascended being, because you're still in this human vessel fighting your ego. Now let's get into the Scorpio rising. It's funny because in esoteric astrology, the rising, the ascendant, is considered one of the most important sensitive aspects of one, because it's the incarnation point. And this is the frequency of the soul. And this also rules over the ego, very similarly like the sun. Now the ascendant is not a planet. It is a mystical point. It rules over one's ego. It rules over one's life force. Their mind, their mentality, their soul as well, an aspect of their soul, a very dominant aspect of their soul, their past, they're very sensitive to the Scorpio energy too. So when it comes to sun, moon, and rising, why do we call these the big three? Because they are the most dominant aspects of self. You know, there's no which one is more strong or powerful than the other. They all equally are. They all are. You are your entire chart, not a part of it, not a piece of it. The sun is just a piece of the jigsaw. But of course, people are so, especially a Scorpio, I mean, that's just so predictable. It's so ironic because the video was about the dark side and people just taking the bait. You're gonna feel your sun and you're gonna be so overprotective of it, and you're gonna have just such an ego about it because it's a sun. It rules your ego. It rules what you're so overprotective about. And because you're ruled by Mars and Pluto, you're going to be very aggressive about it. You're going to be very argumentative about it. You're going to be very territorial about it. I mean, it's such predictable behavior. So predictable. Imagine you just think that you're your sun sign. Imagine that. The sun stays in a sign, in a zodiac sign for 30 days. And you just think you are your sun sign when you are the entire universe in motion. Imagine that. Whereas the moon moves signs every 2.5 days. And then you have the rising, which is way more faster, moves by the hours. Imagine that. That is why if you put two people who share the same sun sign in a room together and you ask them what they have in common, they're most likely not going to have much in common apart from what they are very proud of and what they identify with. Although there can be some differences because of how their sun is aspected, where it sits in their chart, you know, how dominant is it really in their chart. However, if you put two people who have different sun signs, different rising signs in the same moon, in the same room, they're gonna feel like soulmates because on an emotional, intimate, sensitive level, they get each other. No words needed. No words needed. Okay? You're not your sun sign. Grow the up. You're your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mars, your every part of your chart. This is why we call the sun, the moon, the rising the big three, because they are the most biggest dominant aspects of self. Their energies and traits that you identify strongly with. So when I was saying I consider Scorpio my zodiac sign, yes, I do. I consider my rising my zodiac sign. I consider my Venus my zodiac sign. I consider every part of my chart my zodiac sign. I'm not referring to the zodiac sign as just the sun as most people do. In that context, I was referring it to who I am on the soul level. It's like if you're reading or watching your monthly forecast or your yearly forecast, are you going for your sun or your rising? If you want an accurate reading, go for the rising, not the sun. Although the sun can give you something, but the rising is going to give you more than the sun. And for anyone asking again, my sun is not in Scorpio. My sun is in Aquarius. But my moon, what I strongly feel, the emotions that are within me, flowing through me, rippling within my body, every fiber of my body, what I'm so sensitive to, the energy I'm so sensitive to that I relate to on a soul level, the moon is the soul, is in Scorpio. And on that note, I'm going to end this video. I said what I had to say, no debate about it.